Hi, and welcome back to Harry's Music Room. This is going to be part 6 in my deep dive into the Chicago studio albums featuring Terry Kath. So today we're going to look at Chicago 6. This is my reel-to-reel copy of the album. And there's what the tape looks like. I am a big fan of reel-to-reel tapes. I think they sound amazing. And I'll probably end up doing a video just on my reel-to-reel tapes when I'm done with the Chicago deep dive. So the album was released June 25th, 1973. I was in Thailand at the time, stationed there at Ubon Air Base. So I did not get to hear this record until 1974 when I returned to the U.S. This is called the American Bank note cover. It's actually a raised, not embossed, but it's called raised ink. And it's the first album that featured an actual photograph of the band on the front. Now, it's another single album, just like Chicago 5. And this was the second of 5 consecutive albums to reach #1 on the U.S. charts. So it spent 5 weeks at #1 and eventually went 2 times platinum. So it was a very, very successful album. You can see it's got Just You and Me, Feeling Stronger Every Day, and then over here we've got the rest of the album song titles. But it had 2 top 10 singles. The record itself had a custom label. And the inner sleeve was a custom sleeve. I believe this artwork was done by, it was called Poseidon Enterprises. And they are the ones that used to do the handwritten lyrics for the liner notes and the inside of the gatefold covers that they would have on their records. So before I get going too much farther, I want to say that in my last video, I mentioned Caribou Ranch, and Chicago 5 was not recorded there. The first album that was recorded at Caribou was Chicago 6. And they did end up doing a total of 5 albums there. So that was my mistake. I think it had to do with the wooden cover that made me think ranch and the barn they have there and that. So I apologize for that. So let's see. This album had all original 7 members, but it also had 2 guest percussionist, and you can see right here, if you can't read it, I'll tell you, it is Lauder de Oliveira, and there was also Joe Lala. Joe Lala was from Blues Image. Lauder was a percussionist who also played on the first Joe Cocker album, and he was a good friend of Terry Kath, and he was a guest on Chicago 6 and Chicago 7, and then by Chicago 8 he was made a full-fledged member of the band. Lauder was also the last member of the band to see and speak with Terry before Terry died. He stayed with them all the way through Chicago 14, at which time he was asked to leave the band because they were bringing in Bill Champlin from the Sons of Champlin, and the band was just getting too large, I guess. So just as a side note, speaking of Bill Champlin, in 1970, I went to see Chicago at the Paramount Theater in Seattle, and because of a friend, we were able to get some very good seats and these passes. And I was able to get autographs from Jimmy Pankow, let's see, Walt Parazader, and Bill Champlin, and Lee Loughnane. So that was a thrill. That was a thrill. They were still are one of my favorite bands. So James William Guercio took charge of the recording of this album. In the past, they had done all their recording in Los Angeles, and it was pretty much set up by the studio on how things were going to go. And they had ideas for their music, and they were pretty much allowed to do what they wanted to do with those people. When they moved to Caribou Ranch, Guercio took total control over the music, over everything. And it was the first time they had to give up that kind of freedom on their music. But they allowed them to do it. You can say it was a good thing or a bad thing. It's personal opinion, I guess. The band did say that being 8,000 feet above sea level, it was very hard to get good acoustics with the brass instruments. So there was a little bit of concern about the sound. But this album, to me, is when they really lost their rock edge. I mean, they kind of started losing in Chicago 5 a little bit. But by this album, they were becoming a top 40 band, I thought. So first song we've got is Critic's Choice, a Bobby Lamb song. It's just Bobby and the piano, and all he's really doing is complaining to the critics that, what do you want? You know, I give you everything I've got. It's not good enough. And then he says to him, I'll read here, what do you really know? You parasite, you're dynamite, an oversight, misunderstanding what you hear. So he's really kind of blasting the critics. Because, you know, once you get so popular like they were, if you didn't grow up in that time, you don't realize how huge this band was. And when you get to those levels, they want to tear you down. It's just human nature, I guess. But I thought it was a weird way to open the album, with just him and this complaint. But apparently the rest of the band, they were okay with it. They thought, that's fine, let's do that. So that's the opening song. What I would have gone with was the next song, which is called Just You and Me, and that's a Jimmy Pankow song. And I'll tell you, he's a great songwriter. I mean, he's written most of the early top 10 stuff. That song hit top 10. It's sung by Peter Cetera, and many people say, well, that's the beginning of the Cetera as the voice of Chicago right there, because he did kind of take over on the single releases. But Jimmy Pankow, quite a songwriter. And then next we have a song called Darlin' Dear, and it's a Bobby Lamb song. And speaking of Bobby Lamb, I think it's kind of a lame song. It's almost like he's writing to either a groupie or someone he met on the road, and he's like, yeah, you know, it's like a long distance lover, but I don't know. It's not a very good song. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, probably the best thing to do with the song is that Terry plays some slide guitars. It's got a country feel to it, that one. And then we have a song written by Terry Kath called Jenny. It's supposed to be a love ballad, but for me, it doesn't work. The lyrics go, listen to this. Jenny, Jenny, you know I'm going away, and you know my woman's here. Please don't you stray. Watch over her. And then there's a bunch of more stuff. And then it says, if someone comes to cause her harm, you got to gun them down. Oh, Jenny, there's always someone waiting to shit on you. I don't know. I expected more from Terry than that. But anyways, So then we've got a song called What's the World Coming To? This is another Jimmy song, and I tell you, it's funky. It's got a nice jam, lots of horns. And this is probably the only song on the album where they get a little political. And like he says, some folks got a lot and some folks are hungry. Well, I said some folks have to live from day to day. Rich folks spending time just counting money. Poor folks really ain't got much to say. What's this world coming to? And that's that's his political view on things on that song. So that's the end of side one. We go to side two. It's called Something in This City Changes People. And you can tell right away from this album that Bobby Lamb is not happy with Los Angeles. It's just coming through in the songs on this album, and this is one of them. He says, the maitre d' will seat me knowing what I spend. They offend. Smiling faces greet me. Everyone's my friend. Excuse me. They pretend. They see I'm happy with my lady. They're not satisfied. All their feelings died. So sad, so sad. Something in this city changes people, makes them devil-eyed. So he's not happy with LA. And then he follows that up with a song called Hollywood. And people running everywhere, not one place to go, got no time to look around to find out where they are. Hollywood, oh, crazy neighborhood, never understood why I stay. And then there's chants of, heard it through the grapevine, heard it through the grapevine. It's really kind of just a typical Chicago song with the horns and everything, but I don't know. It's not the best song on the album. And then we've got In Terms of Two, and this is a song written by Peter Cetera. And this is definitely the worst song on the album, at least that's in my opinion. It just sounds weird. I mean, the song starts out with a harmonica, and it's got a harmonica through it, and it doesn't know if it wants to be a alt country song or what it wants to be. But anyways, to me, it's just filler. I don't know. I don't even know why they put it on the album. And then the last song is another Bobby Lamb song. He wrote 5 out of the 10 songs on this album. But this one's got a real nice groove to it. Some really sweet wah-wah guitar from Terry. All the horns, everything. And it's really more about Los Angeles once again. But it's a total Chicago sound with just a nice groove to it. But here he is talking about LA again. I've not been feeling right. Soon it's going to change. Time to rearrange. Found us a beautiful place, perfect in tiny space. And now we can retrace a song. Got to get back inside. Dreams and thoughts collide. Last chance to be free. This mountain majesty is rediscovery. And the sound of this, it would have been perfect on Chicago 3. If you're familiar with that album, it would have fit right in there. And then we go to the biggest hit on the album, I think, and that's Feeling Stronger Every Day, co-written by Peter Cetera and Jimmy Pankow. Pretty generic love song, really, but it's got the good groove, it's got the horns, it's got everything going for it. So, another top 10 song for him. And then one song that's not on here, but you can find it on YouTube, and I really suggest that you go and look at it because it's really good. It's a song called Tired of Being Alone, and it's done with Al Green. And it's filmed at the Caribou Ranch. It was part of a TV special that they did on Chicago, called Chicago in the Rockies. But I'll put a link below. Make sure you go see it because it's pretty cool. And I guess that means it's time to end this video. So anyways, thanks for watching. Leave some comments below if you let me know what you think of the band and this album, and I do appreciate you watching. And I'll try to get another one out tomorrow for one of my favorite albums, and that's Chicago 7. Thanks. Bye.